Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Reinvent program here at Reinvent, Durban, sunny South Africa. We want to welcome to the program this evening. Reinvent is an awesome program meant for the young people, and it's so good to have you here. If you haven't watched any of our episodes before, check out our Facebook page or download the podcast. Just search for Reinvent on Android, Google Podcasts, or on iTunes Podcast, and you can get us right there in your phone. Well, tonight we'll be talking about relationships, and together with me, I have Tommy Bengu. Welcome, Tommy.
Welcome, Wesley. Hello, everybody. Nice to have you on today's episode.
Welcome,
so glad
Africa.
That you guys could join us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's show. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I think, the original intention of us having the Reinvent programs was to put information in people's hands so obviously they could make good decisions. And just before that, we went into lockdown and we weren't able to do it. So hence why we're doing it over Zoom, but we are live and we are available. So if you have any comments or if you have any questions that we can answer, just drop it down in the comments. And if there is any infographics that we put up for you, we will put the links in the description and you can grab all of that right there. So tonight we're talking about relationships. I think it's very important, guys, that we first define a few most common relationships, and then also later on we can go on into some areas of relationships that people may not necessarily be aware of, but each and every one of us are actually a part of. So I think, Tommy, maybe you want to start off, and then from there we'll get into the program.
Thanks, Wesley. Yeah, so relationships, I think it's a very, very good, obviously a topic. From last week we spoke about, our first series was on mind management. Then we spoke about people skills, how you deal with people. And then obviously tying it up this week with relationship. Now, whether you're young, old, poor, rich, black, white, whatever the case may be, each one of us are in some sort of relationship. So relationship could be a relationship number one with you and God. You and Jesus, a relationship between you and your wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, relationship between a father and a son, daughter and mom, between you and your worker, or you and your co-worker. So there are vast amounts of relationships. But each one of them, obviously, they're categorized in a way that you got to define where boundaries are are drawn. For example, if you look at a stranger, someone in a road person, like you don't have a close relationship with that person, because obviously relationships are built on trust, they're built over time. So those are the kind of relationships that we're gonna try and identify in today's topic, and then obviously lay a foundation how you can, with God's wisdom, be able to have successful relationship. Reason being because every single day we deal with people. Whether it be at work, at family, at church, in a marketplace, we deal with people. So you cannot run away from people. But one of the things that God has given us in His Word is His guidance and how to successfully, effectively, have good, lasting relationship with people. Africa, I know, like you in business, you obviously, and also like a leader, you have dealt with a lot of people, like the youth, the old. Over the years, you have so many relationships. How would those been? I'm sure you've had wise one, unwise one, the learner, the foolish, and so forth. How would you categorize those?
Good point. Very funny, because you just made me reflect on each of those kind of relationships. It's a matter of balance, because there's people. Like I was looking at the two excerpts that we're going to have later on in the show today. There's people that you want to be very close, and then there's people that you want to keep at bay, but at the same time, not being disrespectful to them, but then basically making it plain where they stand with you and stuff like that. And I think it's also very different when you come to the leadership part, because in business, it's just a matter of exchange. Customer brings money, you give goods or service, whatever. Once that's done, basically it's like the relationship is done. but it's never ever really closed, because if it's a standing customer, then they're always going to be back. There's always that point of entry in that kind of relationship. When you're in ministry, then it's different in leadership, because then it's like a more open relationship, if you understand what I'm saying, because these people, they have to relate to you, they have to relate to your life, because your teaching is not necessarily far and apart from the way that you live your life. People learn more from what the example that they see in your life than just the words that you share with them. So it's, you know, it's different kinds of relationships. The business relationship, if you have to compare it now to the ministry relationship, this person in business, they don't come see your life and all that. They shouldn't. You know, going back to the boundaries that you're talking about, you know, they're there, bring the money and take the goods, you know, tata hambagahle. But then the ministry side, it goes a bit deeper, because what you do on the road can't be different to what you've said inside the church or wherever you are counseling that person per se. You know, you have to lead by the very same example, whether you're on the road, in the mall, wherever you are. So, you know, just touching on the depths of the relationships, as you were saying about the boundaries.
Yeah, you know, like different kinds of relationships. The first relationship I think that we experience as people is the relationship between us and our parents. From the time that we're born, that is the first bond that we make. And then that relationship is based on love and care, because we responded to the love and care of our parents, all right? And irrespective whether you had both your parents or just one, it's you respond according to that. And then like you were talking about the workplace, Africa, it actually overflows into the marketplace, because if you come from a home where there's a lot of trust, it's very easy for you to trust in the marketplace. You know what I'm saying? Because but like that relationship between your parents, someone in the home environment, always starts with trust given on merit, by, hey, you know what, you're my family, you're my blood, I can trust you. It's something that literally grew in, you were born into. Outside of that, outside of the family unit, all of that would be trust that will need to be earned. Now, if you are the individual that is standing there and says, you know what, you and I both have the same surname, or, you know, our mothers have the same name, and, you know, this must be God, and, you know, we base a relationship out of that, that's not a good place to start. All relationships, yes, they must have boundaries, but all relationships should start with a small level of trust and should build from the outside of the home environment. Yeah.
Now, Wesley, what would you say? I mean, also you, like in your case, you have like mentored or have had multiples of relationships, or like over the years. What would you say in terms of dealing? I mean, you as being a leader, also like dealing with people who have come into your life, but also like didn't heed to the wisdom or the instruction that you've given them, but obviously you allowed them to your space. Obviously, I'll say it maybe where it's like was wise, like unwise people or relationship, and wise one. How would you kind of like help somebody who would say, look, I'm with a friend for so many years, but this person, kind of like just takes advantage of me, but I don't want to let them go, you know, because they're my friend. How would one with the wisdom of God be able to like get a way out of that, what they should do in a case like that?
Well, talking about the home environment, I don't think that you ever get to a stage where you can wash your hands off your family and say, you know what, I've had enough, I can't deal with this anymore, because they're your family, you know? So that's where the Bible talks about, you know, you go with, somebody says, go the 1 mile, you go with them 2. It's, that's the kind of relationship that it's never ending. You'll be family even in death. So the thing is, you know, even if it's in dysfunction, you still have your family. Outside of the family unit, I think it's important to understand that every relationship will be based on, if you remember what you said about people skills, Tommy, you said that the the kind of a relationship where it's give and take. It's transactional.
Yes.
It's very important to understand that. If you are mentoring somebody, we are in control of our decisions and our actions, but there will never come a point where we will be responsible for the other person's actions. So in a good way, we can take the horse to the water and we can say, you know what, here's the water, it's clean, drink. But we can't make the person drink that water. So we've given them all the tools, and then at some stage, we've got to have that point where we can say, you know what, I've tried X, Y, Z, and this person is obviously not interested in so this relationship obviously this is as far as we can go. So you can still be friends, but obviously it can be superficial, it can be very shallow, or it can be a relationship where it'll just be casual. You'll see each other at a braai or at an event or something and say, hey, how you doing? You well? All great. And that's as far as it goes. You know, you cannot speak to that person beyond that stage. People love to be with people who make them feel good. And there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everybody should be around people that motivate them. But also to have friendship where you can go that extra mile and you can risk that friendship by telling the person the truth. I think that's also an important relationship to have. Because where you have an individual that can say to you, you know what, I love you, but I hate what you're doing right now. To have that kind of person to say, yeah, you know, you're a selfish person. You need to change your way. I love you for who you are, but you know what, those ways of yours, they need to change. It's difficult to hear, but at least that person loved you enough to tell you the truth. And you generally find that within the family environment, but not always. Sometimes we have dysfunctional families and we find love, support, strength outside of the family unit. And those people still, they would rather risk the friendship and tell you the truth because they love you enough.
Yes, Wesley, that was beautifully put, what you just said now. Now, like in the book of Proverbs 13:20, Solomon says, you know, that he that walks with the wise men shall be wise, but it says a companion of fools shall be destroyed. So I think it's also very important to understand that as much as obviously we are like children of God and so forth, God has also given us his word for wisdom to be able to identify what is a wise relationship and what is an unwise relationship. Now, unwise relationships, you know, have destroyed like thousands of potential people who could become winners, and people stuck with those relationships. You know, you find that Jesus himself, when he walked on the earth, like he had two types of people, if I can just might put it. He had people that ministered to him, were close to him, ministered to him, and the people, and number two, there were people who received his ministry. So they were able to heed to his instruction, they were able to listen to him and do the things that, like what he told them to do. And then you found out that those are able to go into new levels of their lives. But then you find the Pharisees, on the other hand, they were there with him, but on the one side, they were like looking at him with one eye, but trying to catch him at his word, what he's saying. So those type of relationships, we found out that they are there. Like you got people who are working with you, but as you're saying, Wesley, they will not heed to the wisdom that you would give them. So Jesus never wastes his time with those type of people, because he knew that he rather focus his energy on people that would listen to him and would get results in life. So, I mean, we're talking from experience and talking from the mistakes that we have made in life over the years and stuff that we are still learning, that we are saying to youngsters, middle-aged, old people, use the wisdom of God, because it kind of directs you to where you need to go. There's some relationship that I've learned that you gotta cut off. It's hard to cut off because this guy, you've grew up with him, he's been there from day one, but he's like, you know, I've like, for example, I'm talking from the mistakes that I've made. There are people in my life where, because you're trying to be a goody two shoes, for example, but you're trying to take them into your Garden of Eden, but God didn't say you must take them with you. You know, then when they get there, because their character is not right, then they mess up everything for you. So you've got to have the wisdom of God now to say that, look, this guy, as you're talking about boundaries, he's a friend or he's acquaintance or he's a stranger. So I got to keep him at bay. Don't bring him into your inner circle, because if people are not, like as you said, really, a good word is people need to qualify
definitely
into those spaces. But if you just let anybody walk in and out of our lives, we find that our spiritual lives will be messed up, our personal lives will be messed up, and then like to kind of like rebuild that, it's kind of like it takes time.
Yeah, to add to that, while Wesley was talking about the role of a mentor and stuff like that, and the challenges that he's faced, both at home and also mentoring out, mentoring to people and stuff like that, and then people not listening and then doing their own thing, etc. I'd like to think of each person, or if we can, think of yourself as like a dam, a dam of water, clear water. And then every person that you come in contact with, basically like a relationship, either is keeping this water calm and still and clean and clear, or they're muddying that water. And it depends on how much you allow this person to dig in or to touch your space, your clarity and stuff like that. If the person is not making you mostly at peace, they always come and disturb your peace. They take your joy, basically muddying your waters. They're bringing a whole lot of unrest into your dam, I'll put it like that, and it's making your life very muddy. That person needs to go. It all starts off very small. You know, people would be rude to you when you're in public or something like that, you know. And then sometimes we take them further and we say, oh no, it was just a minor thing, whatever it is, it was an error. We the ones being in control of your relationships, we're the ones that make excuses for them instead of allowing them to prove themselves. You know, am I worth this person's time? Is this person worth my time? And stuff. And then we let them in further, basically bringing them closer into the center of the dam. Now, this is where your core is, you know, and then they start mudding up your whole life. Now the whole dam in, and then they turn your whole life upside down. So you have to keep watch on your relationships. Relationships, like what Tammy was saying, whether you're poor, whether you're middle class, whether you're very rich, everybody has to deal with relationships. And if you don't have balance in the relationships, then your whole life is determined by what you've made of these relationships. Whether it's 3 relationships that make up your whole life, or it's 7. Some people have thousands of people in their lives, you know, people that have fans and followers, etc. But it's the balance. It's the balance that makes them out to be the people that they become at the end of the day, or the people that we end up seeing at the end of the day. How do they balance all of these relationships? How far in do they let these people? Who determines their joy, their state of mind, and all that kind of stuff? So, like what Tammy was saying, that you let the people into the Garden of Eden, you let the people onto your dam, and then as you monitor each relationship, the deeper you let them in, the more they basically. We can actually say that they actually choose our peace, because if we allow them deeper, we actually allow them control. Hence why when you spend time, like what the Bible says, with the wise and with the foolish, the more you spend time with a certain type of person, the more you become like that person. You'll find that people will say to us, oh, you all are so alike, you know. It's because the mannerisms start lining up, and it's either your mannerisms line up to the person that you've let in, or you line up to the mannerisms of the person that you've let into your life. So you have to choose the relationships. And you know, we're just saying relationships, but we have to be reminded that it's your very close loved ones and your parents, etc. And how you harness these relationships determines also the person that you are inevitably becoming.
Yeah. You know, I think from the family unit, I think for young people growing up, the next time they have relationship outside of the family unit, and we're not talking about cousins and aunties and uncles, so we're talking about school. School is where they start to see the outside world. And, you know, the scholars, what happens is if there's dysfunction in the home, then they always cling to friends at school. And then that's where peer pressure comes into being. And then, you know, they start to have healthy and unhealthy relationship. Now, like Africa said, you know, you either become like the person that you're with, or they become like you. It goes back to what we said when we spoke in our first program. If you haven't watched it, you can go ahead and do that. It's available straight after this. It's very important for you to understand that there are two types of people. We have the people that influence people, and then we have the people that are very easily influenced. If you are a person that has to change their way in order to fit in somewhere, or in order to be accepted by a group of people, then those are not the kind of people that you want to be with. If there's a group of people that you desire to be with them, but you have to change your way, or you can't be true to your identity in order to be accepted by them, then that's not the kind of people that you want to be with. That is what you would call disconnected, living a parallel life. Because on one hand, you're going home and you're being one way with your parents, and then outside of that family unit, you're a completely different person. You know, they duck their clothes in their bag, and then they go out and they change, and then they go and do everything else. If you can't be true to yourself, that's not the kind of friends that you need to keep. The dynamic of that relationship is that if it's a bad group of people, and generally when you have to change who you are in order to be with them, it's a bad group of people. Yeah. And then that's where peer pressure comes in, and the next thing you're doing things that you're not necessarily supposed to be doing, and it leads one thing to the other, and then sometimes it can even lead to a mistake that could really travel with you the rest of your life. It never leaves you. You know, you end up with these nicknames well into your adult life. You have these nicknames, and it's just very unhealthy. Yeah. If you have relationships with people from your youth group, you have people, relationships with friends from church, and these guys are good for you, and they allow you to be yourself, and you have a sense of freedom. Those are kind of the friends that you want to be with. Anywhere where you cannot be true to yourself and to your identity and who you are, then that's definitely not the right group of people.
You know, Wesley, what you said, basically the power is in our hands. Thank God that God has given us authority, dominion, and the power principle to say that you can either put it on or put it off. You know, you're the one that's got like the deciding factor. You don't need to let toxic people that are unwise, people that don't believe in your dreams. Every time you speak about doing something great, they're always shutting you down. Don't be in those type of relationship. You can choose, like as I said the last time, OQP, only quality people. You find those people, but you gotta invest. I mean, you gotta invest time in yourself to kind of like get your mind right, because those bad relationships kind of like subconsciously they do damage to you. You might not know it, but the influence that comes with having unwise relationship causes influence. Now, Wesley, in Africa, what would you say in terms of like, how long would you say one can keep a relationship for if they're in type of relationship that a person is not changing? Because the truth of the matter is, like, if you look at Satan, you know, I learned never to judge people by their resume, because you look at Satan, he worked for God, you know, but look at what he became. You know, you look at Judas, he walked with Jesus, but himself was not changed. So no matter how much Jesus had plans for him, no matter how much, but because of free will, he chose that way of life. Jesus loved him, you know, but his heart was like kind of like he had his own mind. He wanted to do his own thing, and then the end of his life. So what would you say if someone's like kind of like in a very toxic relationship, but you know they got hope that this person was changed? Because we've seen in media, in the news, where people have gotten to, let's just say, like into now intimate relationships, where a person has got involved with someone that's an abuser, and they're hoping that this guy will change. And this guy just got these qualities that he does something wrong, and then he beats up this lady or whatever his wife, and then he comes back the next day and says, "Look, I'm sorry." But he keeps on doing it for long until he kills her, for example. So, but those are the reality of things that like do happen. Where does one now kind of like cut and say, you know what, enough is enough. I've done whatever I needed to do, but I also gotta protect my own life.
Yeah.
How would we help, like, you know? Yes, Africa.
To go first, sorry, Wesley.
No, go for it.
To avoid those certain types of entanglements, I think we have to look at the Master Jesus, for example. I don't know if he kept Judas purposely as the 12, because think about it, the man, he knew everything. You know, he knew Judas was going to do this thing here. Maybe it happened somewhere down the line in their relationship. Then he realized, hey, this guy here is now got twisted. Maybe Judas was sitting with other gambling crooks, whatever it is, and whatever. Maybe then Jesus realized. But look at Jesus. Jesus keeps him all the way to the end. To the end. This is
to
Jesus,
the end.
not even us. And I'm not saying that we have to now test our faith and then keep the person to the end. Because consider that Judas was part of the cause of the end of Jesus. So you have to think of yourself. When you think of your end, when do you want it to be? And do you really need it? Do you need your life to now be turned upside down by somebody? Imagine all that God has instilled in you. And I think the mere reason that Jesus put Judas on the team there was to show us that, you know, he had 12 people, and then there was this one rotten egg. And he put up with him, yes. he put up with him, yes. But then if you look at it, he still had the 11. And if he had only perfect people on this crew of people, then we wouldn't have seen how to deal with these people. Because look at the amount of rest that Jesus had and trust he had in God, which was the greater relationship in Jesus' life. He said, whatever you're about to do, go and do it quickly. You know, he let him be. So sometimes people are holding on to toxic relationships because they're believing that this one person has the master key to changing their lives. And they've forgotten about the greater plan of God. And that's why people stay in these toxic relationships. If you've ever spoken to an abused woman and you ask them at some point, and like, why are you staying? And then some of them will say something to you like, it's the lifestyle. So think about it. Let's say there's 5 days in their week. The one day they get beat up badly. 4 days, she just wants to glamour and shine. So I was saying, they just want to shine for the 4 days, but they get beat up for the one. So they stay in this relationship, as bad and toxic as it is, just because of what they're getting for the 4 days, and the one they're just getting beat up badly. And they're only staying because of this promise of this life. And sometimes it's because of the money or whatever it is that they're getting. And that is why sometimes people stay in these relationships. But I think it's also that sense of insecurity that what God can do for you personally, your trust in God. So your dependency is now moved away from God, from your creator, and it's moved into a person. Your dependency and everything is now hinging onto this person. And that's why people don't let go of the toxic relationships. Back to the point about Jesus and how long we can hold on. It basically goes down to how much do you value yourself, and also the trust in what God has put into you. Because if you really trust and believe that you know that God has got great things for you and God is going to do it in your life, you would let go of toxic people and just keep on trusting God and holding on to God and holding on to his word and stuff like that. But you're only going to hold on to those toxic relationships because of certain reasons, and you have to query yourself, what are those reasons, and are they worth the greater destiny and purpose that God has in store for my life?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, guys, we could talk about this for a month of Sundays when it comes to relationship, because there's so many,
Yeah.
it's so vast and it's
Dynamic.
so diverse, and relations are everywhere. Talking about this particular thing now, sure, the Bible says that the heart of man is desperately wicked. Who can know it?
Mm.
Just that statement alone would take you years to unpack if you burn your fingers each and every time you put your heart on your sleeve. It's very important to understand that Jesus had 12 disciples. So that means you're bound to have one Judas. So for every 12 people, you'll have one person that can betray you. That's another way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I think generally we find in an abusive relationship, it's always the man being the perpetrator. So this would really be geared for young ladies in a relationship with a man that obviously has a few issues. First of all, I think when choosing a partner, I think it's very important to have personal value. If you have strong personal values, you have a specific kind of checklist that you will say, okay, this guy treats his parents in a certain way. He treats, and we're talking at the onset of a relationship. We're talking about ticking off a very specific checklist. And we're not talking about settling for anything. If you have value for yourself, you'll have a list of things that you would expect of an individual before they can even get close to you. So in the big scheme of things, I think guys in general, we're not talking about, strong world individuals. We're just talking about, the wild guys. The general consensus is, once I've conquered you, I'm done. Right, guys, we know what we talk, right? Once I've had you, that's it. I don't need anything else. For a woman, it's different. So never give yourself at the onset, because that comes with a whole different. That's a different ball game altogether. But if you have a list of things, okay, he treats his parents well. He looks after his parents. He looks after his grandparents. If you want to know what a guy is like, go out with a guy with his friends. If he's wild there, he's going to be wild in your house.
He's going to be. Yep.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. If he's
true.
That's exactly how it is. How he is with his parents is exactly how he is going to be with you. If he screams at his mother, if he's lazy at home, I guarantee you he's going to do that exact same thing in your house. And you can pray until the cows come home. We can have Gabriel come down in his wings and slap you in the face, but I guarantee you that's exactly what you're going to get. And that, unfortunately, is the sad reality of things. Even if you have a good guy and he checks all the boxes and eventually he does turn out to be a person that's abusive, unfortunately, one of two things have to happen. Either you're going to have to give in, all right, or he's going to have to get some serious help. Now, I'm not talking the kind of help where he's going to go and see the pastor about having a counseling session. I'm talking about going to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist and getting some serious help. If he needs to go on some medication, let the man go on some medication and sort himself out. But while he's getting that work, that's where you dust your hands, dust your feet, and move on. Because the only person that can change people, now hear me, young ladies, the only person that can change a man like that is Jesus Christ. And that has nothing to do with you. No amount of church services that he's going to go to with you is going to change him. He has to have a born-again experience with Jesus Christ, and that should be on his own. He is in no condition to be having any relationship with anybody whatsoever. All right? He has his mother, he has his father, let them deal with him. All right? That's the first thing. Secondly, working on the assumption that you're not in a marriage now where you are going out with a guy. And understand, if your father treats you like a queen and like a princess, who gives that guy the right to treat you like dirt? Nobody has the right to treat you like dirt. If your own father does not do that to you, he has no right. Have enough self-value to put an end to it. If you are in a marriage, with an abusive man and now you have children and stuff, do the best for your children. Don't worry about him.
Yeah.
If it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. But, do what you need to do. If you need to call the police, call the police. If he needs some serious help, let him go and get the help. But understand, when you have children and you have an abusive man, and you leave your children to see that each and every day, you are actually creating an abuser. Because your child is seeing exactly what his father is doing. And that person, if it's a daughter, it's clinically proven that a girl will always find a man who's exactly like her father. So if he's an abusive individual, understand, you are literally empowering that mindset in her, that this is what I had, this is what I will get. And if you have a young man and he has not learned how to respect a woman, then unfortunately he's going to be exactly the same person that you are trying, he's the same person that his father is. And unfortunately, it's not healthy. Hate beget hate. So it's very important. Unfortunately, it's a very sensitive topic, but it's a very real topic. We live in a society where 1 in 3 women are either abused or sexually or physically. And that, unfortunately, is a sad reality. So have enough self-value to make the change. Have enough self-value to... I know it's difficult. I know you love him. But, there's a sorry, guys, I know I'm taking long now. There's something called the Stockholm Syndrome. The Stockholm Syndrome is in Stockholm, Sweden. I think it was the 1960s or the 70s. There was a bank robbery. And the hostages, after a period of time, actually grew to love the bank robbers, to an extent that one even waited for the bank robber to, obviously get out of prison, and then she married him. And then they found that very strange, and they called it the Stockholm Syndrome, because the person who was being abused now grew to love the abuser.
The abuser.
So, exactly. So that perpetrator became a god to them. It became a loving relationship, because on one hand, he's bashing her, and on the other hand, he's giving her a glass of water and a slice of bread. And she's looking at that as, oh no, man, he can change. No, he will not change. So don't allow he does not care. He cares for himself. He does not care for you. So, if you have any questions, you can put it down, and then I know it's a sensitive topic. You can even inbox us, and then we can help you even outside of this. If you need help in those areas, we can obviously refer you to individuals that can help you, people that we know and trust that can obviously help you along those lines. But I know it's a sensitive topic. Unfortunately, we're talking about it, but it's some things that you need to think about.
Sure. Wesley, there was a quote that said that the forest was shrinking because of the axe, but I didn't rely, but I thought the axe was because of its wooden handle, but the axe is destroying the forest. So what you're saying is sometimes is that you have these people in your life, you love them, so-called, but they're destroying you. Sometimes, as we said, this powerful stuff is that you got to value yourself. There's a lot of beautiful young women, whether old or young, who get into these type of toxic relationships. And then what these sometimes it could be a female. We're not saying it's only males, but sometimes it's
Yes.
vice versa.
Yeah.
But these toxic relationships, what they do, these toxic people, what they do, they end up demeaning you. They make you feel like you're not worth anything. They'll make you feel like you always on the wrong. I learned that never be the only one that only cares in your circle. Meaning that if three of us, me, West in Africa, always go out, but me in Africa always don't carry our wallets, knowing that Wales is gonna pay. Every single time we go out, we know that Wales is gonna pay. So we purposely, and there are people like that. So never be the only one that only cares in your circle. You have to put those requirements and yourself value and say, you know what, enough is enough. I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm a child of God and so forth. And then make those changes. They're necessary. You're going to make them in order for you to kind of like make a success of yourself and also like have a healthy relationship with people or with your family or friends.
Yes, yes. I think it's important for people to understand that in any relationship, there's always going to be, and I'm talking about a strong relationship, a deep relationship where you actually open yourself up to. There is a level of sacrifice, and there's also a level of compromise. So what I mean by that is sometimes, for example, a simple thing like, okay, we're going to the movies. So we always watch an action movie, but the other person now wants to watch a romance or something else. So then you'd give in and say, yeah, that's cool. You know what, we'll watch it next time. We'll do it. And the same goes on. But if you always find yourself in a relationship where somebody is constantly calling the shots, so they're happy for you to pay the bill. Like Tommy said, they're happy for you to constantly buy them things. They're happy for you to tell them how wonderful they are. But they never prepared to give in to what you need. That's not really a relationship. That's literally, you have the dominant and then the submissive. So you're the submissive in that relationship rather than the dominant.
And it's always flags, red flags, Wesley.
Yes,
and those are the red flags.
Yeah.
Definitely. My father's always said to me, and I found it to be true. Only after I got married did I understand the statement. The first 25 years of your life is dependent on your education. So that means from the time your parents grew you up, you started going to school, then you went to university or any form of other training or education that you had, the first 25 years of your life. The next 25 years of your life, the success of that is determined on the person that you marry. All right? So the first 25 is your education. The second 25 is the person that you marry. Working on that means now you're 50 years old. All right? You're about to retire. Right? You had a decent education. All right? Even if you didn't have the best education, you had a decent education. You were able to do something with your life or do something that at least would give you a good living. You married a good woman. She may not have been the prettiest girl. Maybe she was the prettiest girl. But she looks after you. She values you. She cares for you. She's a good mother, right? Like in Proverbs 31, the Bible talks about a woman who's a businessman and she's not a housewife, but she looks after her family.
Yes.
And then the third 25 years of your life, which takes it up to 75, are determined on the first two. So in other words, the health of that relationship will be determined by your mental training, and then the second 25 by the person that you marry. So in other words, if you get to 50 and you marry the bad woman, oh, Lord have mercy. You're going to end up in a situation where you're going to spend 25 to 30 years of your life, all right, regretting the first 25 or the first 50. All right. I know so many people, even people in my own extended family. All they ever talk about is, if I'd only never married that woman, if I'd only ever done this or that or that. Brothers out there, when you're looking for a wife, don't look for the curves. Look for a woman that can look after you. They always say, look for somebody that's like your mother. So if you love your mother's cooking and you love how she looked after your father and how she looks after you, don't get a woman like that. Don't get a woman because she looks so nice in these tight jeans and, she wears these nice makeup and she does her nails 5 times a day and, she wears these high heel shoes. Everybody looks at her. Trust me, the chances are that girl's not going to be good for you. You need to find a woman. And you know what? If your parents are saying that this is not a good girl, that's a red flag. Find a person that would look after you so you can enjoy your life. So even if your education wasn't the very best, but you marry a good woman, all right? I guarantee you are going to have a decent and a successful life, because success is not, I'm driving a Ferrari and I have a wonderful life. No, it's not about that. Health, success, and all that is determined on your life holistically, not just the money in the bank. And young woman, if you have a man that can treat you like your father, where you are his princess, all right? You're going to have a good life because that man will value you. He's always pushing you. Now, as a married individual, and all of us are married, we know that there's times where we go through things, and then sometimes we have intense fellowship, like our pastor says. We have intense fellowship, but you know what? They're good women. They're prepared to do whatever they need to do for their family. So chances are, when we're 55 and 65 and 75, our wives are going to look after us. And ladies, if he can't value you now, what are the chances of him valuing you later? What really is going to change? Because you've given him the best of you. You've given him your youth. You've given him children. I mean, what greater value is there, really? How much more can he give you? And if he still doesn't value you at this stage, I really don't think he's going to value you then.
Sure. Yo, to add to that too, Africa.
In summarizing everything that Wizzy was saying, from one of his points, take that person out with their family and friends, or be in the company of that person, of your potential spouse. In the company of their family and friends, be there, but don't be so engrossed in the moment, taking pictures and videos, that you don't look at them closely, listen to them closely, listen to who they respect and honor closely. Because when you pay attention and you hear how they talk to the person that they respect, who's the person they respect, why they respect that person, are they respecting that person out of fear? They're respecting that person because that person deserves that respect in that person's life that you are looking to get into a relationship with, Then when you examine all of that information back now, when you're all alone and you're making decisions on that long-term relationship, because as Wesley was saying, once you're over the 25 and the other 25 and now you're beyond that 50 and you're married to this person, that's it. And if you didn't pay enough attention to that time when they were with their friends, when they were with their family, and you didn't read into who this person really is and what is the makeup of this person that you've chosen, then you are the one that's going to pay that price in the privacy of your home, which will then become like a prison because nobody else would know what you're going through, whether you the male or the female. It's both parties. So make sure always examine your spouse or your potential
partner,
in the company of their in the company of their friends and in the company of their family, and then you'll be able to know who this person really, really is. Because to you, they can dress up when it's date day and they can put on the best perfume only for the dates and stuff like that. They can be all fake for that moment. But to those people, they've known this person forever. So they'll start even bringing up stories and stuff like that. Then you'll see now, if your potential makes them keep quiet, or they allow them to carry on talking. Because if they have things from their past that you only going to find out about many years after you've married them, and you don't want to be with that kind of person, because a human is a very what Wes was saying, a human is a very deep thing. There tends to be a time sometimes in a person's life when they'll go back into their closet, they'll dig up stuff, they'll bring it out. We don't know the time frame of that person when they'll go digging into their past and dig up things. And only during that dating time, you can make that decision as like, is this person worth me spending the rest of my life with? And do they actually add value, or do they demean me and take away value? Because at the end of the day, it's two people coming together. Both of you will have to blossom. It's not about one person and then the other person taking a back seat, etc. Yes, we have to have humility and balance in the relationship, where one has to sometimes take the back seat, one has to sometimes take the back seat. But both of you have to always, at the end of the day, be proud to be in this relationship. Like what Wesley was saying, is that your sense of value, this person is bringing value, this person is bringing value to the relationship. Then you'll raise these, imagine when you're raising children, and you'll raise them with both of your values and everything that you have brought to the table. Now, if only one person is shining and then the other person is being demeaned, who are you in the relationship? If you choosing to be with such a strong person that doesn't allow you to have your voice, your opinion, also to have your shine, for you to also step up, if I put it like that. And this is in many factors of life, and that's why I'm not going deep into it, because it's, some people are, you get into a relationship with somebody who's very educated, and maybe you're not so educated. Some person also is very achieved in business, and maybe you're not, and you're just working for somebody, etc. But if you are able to have balance of respect, sometimes if it's the wife that's earning the most and you don't have that balance, then it also can be a problem. And you can't say that you're going to be able to judge that when you reach that point. You can reach that point when you see the person, when they're with their friends and family. If they have a lot, for example, or if they afford the dinner, and then you can see that they're demeaning everybody, or if you're all out and you're at a dinner and maybe it's just you and this person that you are dating, and then you see that they're very rude to the waiter or everybody else around you, you have to think to yourself, like, if this person can be so offish with strangers, who am I?
Exactly.
You have to consider little things. As Tammy was saying, the red flags. It's red flags that they'll raise along the way, and then you're able to sum up who the person is. Don't be, they say butterflies in the stomach when you're dating, and then you're not able to grasp all of these little things. Get caught up in the moment. Right. You have to pick up red flags and then see now, because you're making a lifetime decision.
So it's an art, Africa. I mean, it's an art dealing with people, whether it be family members, whether it be friends, whether it be intimate relationships. You have the final say. The life belongs to you. Like, it's your life. You gotta choose wisely. You gotta, as Africa and Wesley was saying, that you gotta, only time can tell. So put people through a test. Look at the small things that they do. Take notes of them and let people prove themselves. So in the working place, let it be the same thing. God wants us to, in a nutshell, God wants us to have healthy relationships. He wants us to have a good relationship with Him and also with people. So through these teachings, we want you guys to kind of these are like ammunition that's going to help you to make decisions. If you're in a bad relationship, I'm not going to say if you're married, if you're still courting and you're still trying to find somebody, and you see that, hey, you know what, all these things that you guys said is what happening, I'd say cut the line, make the right decision while it's still happy, and then don't make a lifetime commitment, and then after that, say, like when you're married, they ask the pastor to now counsel you. It's like it's too late. So use the wisdom that God has given you, apply it into your life, help other people with it. and we trust that you will have successful relationships.
Yeah. Guys, I don't even think we've touched the surface of the topic. So I think next week, I think we're also going to do relationships. All right. So we'll call that relationships part 2. Thank you so much for watching the first part of that. Sure. We spoke, I think we went from defining relationships, obviously, into talking about some very some serious topics, but we trust you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think next week we'll also get into it as well, and we'll complete this, because I don't think we've done justice enough to the topic itself.
No.
We want to talk about,
yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we will give them some keys on how to identify like positive people, negative people, how to get out of toxic relationship, what are the red flags, that you can see. So we'll give you some practical keys that you can apply into your life that will help you.
All right. So we look forward to that. And remember that relationships, everybody needs it. All right. Most relationships, 70 to 80% of relationships are like scaffolding. They're there for the time, and thereafter they move away. All right. And that is exactly what a relationship is. Creflo Dollar says that if you have more than 5 people in your life that you share your heart to, all right, you are in trouble. So that means that if you can count the people that you share your heart with more than one hand, then you're in trouble. All right. So that means that the closest and the most intricate and most deepest and most secretive parts of your life should only be shared with a very few. And those are your long-term lasting relationships. All right. Everybody else will be like scaffolding. They'll be coming in and they'll be going out. All right. So that's enough from us. Thank you so much for watching. Remember that the podcast will be available straight after this, probably an hour or 2, and then they will be there. Grab them, watch the videos from the previous sessions that we've had, and we will see you again next week. God bless you. Goodbye.
Bye.